we were asked to present you a methodology that we use in the Basque Country to measure the use of the language. I'm coming from this institution, the Sociolinguistica Clusterra, meaning sociolinguistics cluster. And I heard this morning also one of the speakers asking for a research center to answer all the questions you or many of you have in the applied field. That was a problem also in the Basque Country some 25 years ago. So there were many people working in the field, doing many things, many activities in favor of the language, but there was no research done systematically to answer all the questions all those people have working in the field. So we found a small answer to that worry, and it was to create from the collaboration of the people in universities, researchers, and people working in the field, in the applied field. And from that collaboration, it was created some 20 years ago, this research center working just for the revitalization of the Basque Country. So, but I'll tell you something, that's not enough. I mean, we are just 9 people, staff, it's a very small staff, and it's not easy to find the funding for the research projects, but it's something. If you wish, we'll be very happy to share our experience with you. So we work to improve the situation of the Basque language and creating new methodologies to intervene on that situation. So that's very important for us, but in order to do that, it is very important also to know very well the situation of the language. So that's it. Just some few words about the Basque sociolinguistic context. You can see this graph, and it's the first, the number of children with Basque as a first language from the beginning of the century, the 20th century, to some years ago. So we didn't have any statistics from those periods, but there is a very clever researcher down there, and he arrived to this very interesting graph. You can see going down until the 70s. And in the 70s, what happened in the Basque Country? There was a very huge political movement. It was almost the end of a dictatorship in France. So there was a very big nationalist movement, and one of the bases of that movement was the recuperation of the language. So you can see from 1971 to the end of the century, there is a huge increase. It's just an indicator of what was happening there. And then you can see also what's happening now since the beginning of the century. There is a slight decrease and then a small increase again, but they were making here 3 phases, 3 stages. The first one was the loss of the language, then bigger recuperation, and now we are like we want to, but we can't. I guess you know that sensation. And well, so in the beginning of this process, the knowledge of the language was crucial. So there were courses, language courses everywhere. Everyone was learning the language, and adults. And then there was another thing that happened, and it's that the language was introduced in the education system. So, thanks to that, the level of knowledge increased very much. And nowadays, more or less, with very huge differences between the territories, you know, we are in two states, Spain and France, and then in Spain also we have two different regions. So the laws legislation is very different from one territory to the other, and the sociolinguistical situation is very different also from one territory to the other. But more or less, almost 1/3 of the population is able to speak Basque, average, which is not that much, and almost half of the population has a certain knowledge. Is able to at least understand the language. And good news, because this is especially happening among young people, the future of the language. But now we continue having huge problems, because now that knowledge is increasing, we realize that knowledge is not enough, because there are many people now, young people, who are able to speak the language through school, but, and I'm sure that's familiar to you also, they don't use the language because they don't use it at home, because in the towns they are living, the social presence of the language is very low. So we are very worried with the use of the language. That's why nowadays most of the activities for the revitalization of the language are directed to increase this use. And being aware of that, it is very important for us to know as detailed as possible which is the situation of the use. So let's talk about measuring language use. How do people measure the use of the language everywhere? Usually it's asking people, how often do you use the language? How much do you use? So through making surveys, and that's also at home also, is made at home also in the Basque Country. There is a big survey, but we have this other methodology as well, and which is observe people. Don't ask them, but look at them, which language they are using. You can't do that anywhere, everywhere, so just in open spaces. And it was developed in the Basque Country, this methodology. In 1989, there was the first big measurement for the whole Basque Country. So it is a methodology coming from the 80s. Nowadays, every 5 years, we have a national edition of this big measurement. The 8th edition, it was in 2021, and now we are starting to prepare the next one for 2026. It is the cluster of sociolinguistics, the one in charge of this methodology. And you can measure from a small village or the school yard. You can do measurements there. From there to many towns, many different regions, and then have the figure for the national level. And well, some questions about the the measurement of the street use. What do we measure with this methodology? We use just, and no more than that, the spoken language used in the streets. So we don't look at the written, the landscape. It would be like having a figure for the linguistic oral landscape, not the written one, but the oral one. That's very important for us because that's a very important indicator for us of the social vitality of the language. Why? Because this is the spontaneous use the citizens made in their everyday life in the streets. So that's very, very important. But it is just that. We don't measure the use of the government, the use of any other use. It's just this one. And it is also very important for us because, as you know, language is a social issue. And here you have the language in its social context, because it depends on who you are with and if the other people are able to understand the language. So it depends on interlocutors, location, and context. Where is it employed? So it is in the streets, so open, free spaces. In towns or villages, we use it in very small villages as well. But as I said before, it could be used also for whole regions. And why is it important, the use in the streets? Well, I guess it depends very much on the sociology of each country, that the life in the streets, and the weather also, the life in the streets is more or less active. Still in the Basque Country, and despite of the pandemics and everything, still the public space, the street in the street life is healthy, quite healthy, and you can find many people speaking in the streets. So they are public spaces where social life happens through the means of the language. It is accessible for everyone, so anyone can go to the streets and be there and do things in the streets. And any age, we have people from all ages in the streets, and any origin, any social class can be in the streets. So it is also important for us. It is accessible for researchers. We can't go inside the homes of the people to listen what they are saying, but in the streets it is feasible. And another important feature is that it's absolutely anonymous, and we respect the intimacy of the people. Why? Because it is important. We don't have any other. What we have, the data we have, are this one. Just 4 variables. We take note of the language with which people are using in a certain conversation, and we note the age group of the people participating in that conversation, and also the gender, because in the Basque Country, at least, there are quite important differences between genders. Female, in general, use more the language, Basque language, than male. So from those data, it is impossible. We don't have any registered audios or take photos, so it is impossible to recognize anyone. So these are the figures we get there. So there are four phases. The first one is to design the observation. It is very important to be very strict with that. We work together with people from that town or that village to design the route we are going to follow and where we are going to measure to do the observations. It is also very important to choose the days of observation and also the times. Is it going to be 9:30 to 10:30 Saturday morning or another day? And the number of repetitions. That's very, very important because otherwise the results wouldn't be good. All right. So just a couple of things about the results of using this information in the Basque Country. You see the first graph is for the general use in the Basque Country from the first edition to the last one, and it's almost stable, a little bit higher than in the beginning, but not that much. These are different provinces, but you see the blue one is for Basque. The use of Basque is quite different depending on the territory. These are the ages. Fortunately, luckily, the highest one, the blue one, is for children 2 to 14. And then the green one, coming from down there to the second place, is for young people, 15 to 24. And then the orange one going down is for the eldest one. These are the groups who use more the language, adults with children, and then young girls. And well, you have here more information in the text, you have it. And if you are, you want to measure in your town or in your region the use, you can contact us and we'll be very happy. Goref Ma Agaf.